Ever wonder what would happen if you just stopped listening to the outside noise and you started listening to your own heart, to all the things that are inside of you, and you just allowed them to come out through the nonverbal communication of art? Hi, I'm Samaj. This is Creating with Samaj, and every day we show up together to do 15 or 20 minutes of creating, where we get thoughts out of the inside, out of our body, out of our hearts, out of our heads, and we put it onto paper so that we have space to just clear space. And I think it's also a great time for us to play as adults. Adults don't play enough. I think we spend too much time being adults. And if we can just take 15 or 20 minutes to clear our heads, find space, and to really take the time, you'll find that it creates a lot more space and a lot more opportunity in your life. So if you're ready to join me, let's go ahead and go to the paper and see what shows up today. Let's go ahead and moisten, juicy up our little pages today. Goodness. I feel like my camera is ready to fall off here. You can see I have a very janky setup. I think tomorrow I'm going to be changing my setup, or the next day, sometime soon. I'm going to be moving it to a different space in the house, I think. Maybe even the closet. I don't know, that way I can record at any time, because sometimes I get up really, really early and I don't want to wake up the household. So, things like that happen. So here we are with our paper, our Canson XL, our Praying Oval 16. I'm going to turn the page and we are going to see what shows up today. We've been in our coloring book mode, and I think coloring book, make your own, is a fun thing because we get to just see what shows up and how it wants to show up and what it's going to be. It's always fun to see how the mind works and what it wants to bring forth and what it wants to talk about and share. Kind of an interesting phenomenon, the brain, right? I was having a conversation with somebody the other day about how sometimes our brain really has the ability to both protect us from trauma, but also to direct us towards solutions. So it's very interesting how the human brain works. I'm always fascinated. I recently was watching a woman who does a YouTube channel. She just started. I'm going to put her link down below so you can watch it. She does really cool intuitive painting. Nothing like me. I think she's much better. And I just like her process and I like her energy. But she shared on a post that she came to intuitive painting after having a stroke, and that it is the actual firing of the neurons in the brain that has made a difference for her. And I think, wow, if everyone could do a little art, maybe it would reduce the cortisol level of everyone. Maybe it would open up people to the potential of what they might be able to do if they wanted to do something. I think we don't challenge ourselves because we spend a lot of time comparing ourselves to other people and thinking, wow, mine doesn't look like theirs. Yeah, and that person's been doing their thing for like a really long time. I think that's unfair to the process. I think that you have to show up to everything that's new to it as a beginner, as a student, a learner of life, and really have the chance to utilize that opportunity to make mistakes. Because when you're a student, you get to make lots of mistakes and you get to grow from those mistakes and you get to learn from those mistakes. So they're never really mistakes. They're opportunities for growth. They're potential for exponential awareness about how things didn't work. You know, they always say that about inventors, people who invent. I think Thomas Edison, they said, did the light bulb like 999 times and it was a failure each time. But the 1000th time he got it right. But it wasn't even really about the failure. It was about learning about all the other ways that the system just didn't work. But maybe from the systems of learning, other things could be put together. And you know, life is a lot of puzzles. You know, it's amazing how something that you may have done or planted a seed. I always talk about your life as a garden, and you're always planting seeds in your garden of life. And sometimes, listen, look, we're not even painting yet. I'm just still talking. But sometimes your life is a garden that you are planting seeds that you don't know about, ideas and thoughts. And I was listening to a podcast the other day, and I don't remember which one it was. But in that podcast, the gentleman was speaking to how it's really funny how sometimes you have no understanding about where your life is going and where the seeds that you planted 20 years ago suddenly begin to sprout in your life when you're older. And it gives you an awareness that you didn't have about the potential that you might have for trying and doing different and new things. I think that whenever we can embrace the opportunity to see our own potential, challenging ourselves, like with that word, challenging ourselves in new ways allows our brain to have those neurons fire off. And the woman who I was speaking to, that's one of the things that she said, that when she was having the stroke, she could literally feel her brain doing this thing. So she went to that space where she could refire all of those things in her brain by doing artistic and creative play. And I think creative play is important because creative play not only releases stuff from the inside of us and gets things out in a nonverbal communication, but in that nonverbal communication, what we create and see is a manifestation of what we're capable of. And I was having a conversation with someone yesterday, and I was sharing with her, you know, we get so locked up in life that we often forget all of the things that we've done and all of the things that we've accomplished because we get stuck in the right here, right now, and whatever the problem or the situation is, and we don't see the potential of stepping back and looking, have I been here before? Has an experience like this shown up for me before? And if it has, how did I get through it? Or how did the people that I have around me get through it? And it was a really beautiful conversation because she, like I, grew up from very strong farming families. It's not one for us to really rely on others. We kind of just stick to ourselves and rely on ourselves. And I was sharing with her because she last year had a horrible fire at her house and lost everything. And she was amazed at the outreach of love that came from the community. And I said, you know, wasn't it a beautiful thing to see that show up when you weren't expecting it to, and the beauty that shows from not having any expectation. And then we also talked about, you know, the people that you thought were going to show up just didn't. For whatever reason, maybe they thought someone else was going to show up. But it was astounding. We talked about how those acts of people showing up is love coming in. You know, Leonard Cohen, the great poet and musician, spoke about letting the light in, you know, the crack, the letting the light in. And I think that's what happens in situations when people show up, they're letting the love in. It's just opening their heart wide enough to allow them to connect with your experience. So maybe they can share their experience, because this person, this friend of mine, she was sharing that while she had this horrible pain that happened for her with the loss of her home, it gave her an opportunity to hear the stories of other people who had also been through a similar experience and who never really had space to share with someone who really truly understood the totality of loss. Because, you know, a lot of people can comfort you through a situation, but unless someone else has really been there where you're at, it's hard for you to always receive their perspective fully, right? So this was an opportunity for her to hold space, and I know that's like a crazy word right now, but you know, holding space is important. We have to do that for others because it validates that their stories are important, that they're important, and that what they share matters. And I think we have to remind people that regardless, you matter, right? I think people need to be validated in their existence. Oftentimes here, we're at a point in our lives that maybe people didn't get some nurturing that they needed, getting growed up. So we're at a place that a lot of people are in a lot of different places. And there's a lot of healing that needs to take place. And I think that healing happens when we have an opportunity to share with others, see with others, validate others, hear others' stories, connect with others. Because even in the most painful, hard experiences, there's light that shows up. There's things that show up to remind us that there's always hope somewhere. It's just a thing that happens. It just shows up in the way that it shows up. Didn't you know what this is here? Maybe it's like a little town. I'm not sure. But having fun and creating, not knowing what you're making, is the most fun thing, because it's that whole showing up without the expectation. So when you show up without expectation, the most fun things happen. And when you don't know what's going to happen, it makes it even more fun. I trust that you have experiences that allow you to expand and grow this year. Taking time to take time to invest in you, I always say, is the best investment. And then having fun showing up with a friend, like us together, being here, painting together, doing stuff together. Maybe you're not painting, maybe you're drawing, maybe you're doing something else, but you're finding time to devote time to a practice, and you're getting better at whatever thing you're doing. And if you're just chilling back and watching, that's cool too, because maybe you're releasing cortisol, and that's always a good thing. I am so enjoying this little coloring book phase and not knowing what's going to show up in the book of colors. Ooh, look at that. Oh, I think there's going to be a tree right there. Look, look, there's a tree. Who knew that there was trees up there? There they are. Look, they're all around there. And then there's some other color in with the trees. There's this color there. The tree continues to come down. And then there's this here. It looks like there's a tree back there. And let's add some other colors. There's some darker. Maybe because that's in the shadow. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm just having fun. And I hope that's what you do when you're in this process, that you are just having fun. Not questioning what's happening in the creation of what you're doing. You're just doing and having fun doing. Because having fun doing is the fun of the doing. Creating, ooh, it's going to blossom right into the sky. Who knew? Who knew? And do we get bothered by it? No, we don't. We just allow it. We allow it to show up and happen because it wanted to be there. It wanted to do that because either A, I think I want to be part of the creative process. That's what I think. I always think that creative play is you, the brush, the paints, the paper, all engaged together. The water too. And having all of that engagement creates the opportunity for us to have a playful mindset in what we do and what we create and not getting all uptight about it. Because getting uptight about it never does us any good. It just doesn't. It's about having fun. It's about not knowing what's going to show up. But just allowing stuff to show up and enjoy the creative play. And before you know it, you have a little cityscape that showed up. I always love that you spend time with me, that we spend time together creating, seeing what we can create and do. Having the chance to just play with our do-it-yourself coloring book. I trust that you have a chance to express and expand however you choose to. And I look forward to spending more time with you as the year continues. I'm Samaj. This is Creating with Samaj. Wherever you are, I trust you have an amazing day. And until then,